And we are live. Ben's sitting over there. We were cutting up until like 3 seconds before this came on. Who all is here now? We had Lars here early. I thought I might have been late tonight, but I slid in at 8 minutes of time to go. Unfinished project, the one-eyed cat, Dean Stevenson. Dr. Go, 6th Street Garage. Diecast Dreams Vic, Mohawk 62, Matthew, Indecisive Garage. Mama M to the 3rd Power, driving home 10 minutes away. Oh, cool. Buff Del Campo is here. Matthew says he lost on Jeopardy. In a good mood, doesn't know why. Speaking of Jeopardy, on Fridays about 5:30 Eastern, there's a channel called Mad Mardigan's Music Trivia, and I listen to that every Friday before this live, and he has a Jeopardy style Name That Tune on his channel, Mad Mardigan's Music Trivia. Cool channel. It's a lot of fun. I think you guys would like it because based on the kind of song selections he uses, it's probably guys our age. Pure Pontiac Garage is here. Mostly Old Parts, Wrong Ward. If you were not here last week, you missed a treat. We had the voice of the AHRA No Name Nationals, Mr. Ron Ward, in the house, and we did a bio-style interview with him. So if you did not see that last week, you missed out. Go check it out. My Aunt Nancy is here, Dust Devil Garage. We have Mopar's Mustangs and Minivans, Crystal Kilgore, Thumper the Sweaty Fat Guy, Lone Wrench Garage. Glad you could all make it. Lars puts up a link for Mad Mardigan's Trivia right here. Yeah, cool channel. Nice guy. He answers his comments, but that's a lot of fun. I like doing that right before this live each week. I have a par score that I try to get, which is of 25 sections on the board. I don't add it up and do the I don't try to play it for points or anything, which is the way it's designed to be played. I just see how many I can get. There's 25 squares in the board, and par for me is 13. So last week I did really well. I got, I think, was it 19 or 20? But most times I'm just seeing if I can get par. Usually I do about 15. Diecast Dreams Garage has a question for Ben. Are you in a store or is your garage just that organized? Ben is over there. He's the proprietor of this establishment. This is Larry's Pneumatic Service in Bluefield. And I have been friends with these guys for over 40 years. And so we are streaming from the world headquarters. And he services these tools and builds air tools, electric tools, hydraulic jacks. They even do service on mowers and stuff. Mostly Old Parts is, am I the only one who picked up on the Weird Al reference? I don't know. I didn't. The one-eyed cat says, am I here? I don't know. Are you? Lars puts up a link for Lone Ridge Garage. He is a No Name 500 contender. If you have not yet checked out his channel, you should. He's in last place, but there's still plenty of time. Turbo Tom 416 says, hi all, glad you're here. Hey, you know what? So I got out of the house today and I had a bunch of stuff I was trying to remember. And guess what the one thing I forgot was? I remembered everything, one thing. And you guys can look behind me and tell what's missing. So I'm going to see if I can get some friends and give me a boost here. Lars, if you would, text me the number of days to go. Look at last week, subtract 7. If you don't mind, send me that number. We're going to see if we can get a number back here pretty soon. Wrong English is here. Dr. Ghost says that's a lot of fixing all of that. Big thanks to him keeping everything else going. So Dr. Go, appreciate you keeping the tools that run America running strong. Ben is really terminally camera shy over here. I wonder if he would kill me if I put up his contact picture. Oh, it's just a picture of him. I don't even know what you're working on in that picture, like a mag drill or something, but you're back there at your bench. LSS Drone Photography says, hi, everybody. How have you been doing? Yeah, speaking of that, Dr. Doe, if you watch the short that I did for Rich 220 on the wheel stud install, you see that American flag theme, Ingersoll Rand 231 impact, Ben built that right here. So not everything is done in China and disposable. There are American companies building American tools right here. It's about the only thing that goes on in this town, but it does. Diecast Dream says, I found my electric drill in the debris today. Pretty sure it got drowned. Thoughts on saving it? I don't know. What is it? What kind of drill is it? Mopars, Mustangs, and minivans says soon I'll be carrying around a printer with orange paper. Actually, back in the day, before we had all this electronic signature capability, I would carry a printer in the truck. That's been a while. I just text Ben the number. Hey, Ben, you think you can put that number on a sheet? Stick it up back here? It would be a pure bonus if it was orange, but that's just a bonus. Not like you just keep orange laying around. I'm going to get the assist from Ben here. This is cool. Remember, I did the same thing when I covered my buddy's demo derby for Hubbard's first demolition derby, and I had his secretary made us the number. I think the number was 62. We did that a couple of years ago. Mostly old parts. I'll ask him. He'll come back. He's right around the corner. I'll ask him. I'm pretty sure he does, though. Yeah, Eric Coleman. Yeah, I'm real sure. Yeah, we'll ask him. Sweetie and Vlogs, hello. Thanks for joining us. 38 Ray, howdy. Bobby Frizzell running late tonight, traveling in Alabama at the moment. I thought I might be live, late for this live. I went out. If you saw the thumbnail, let me find that picture. If you saw the thumbnail, I went to eat at this place. I had not been there in a very long time. This is a little steakhouse, and they smoke meat and everything, and it's just the other side of that place I've been down here working on, and man, it was good. We had pulled pork and grilled grouper. It was good stuff. Rice, excellent. Man, I've been way too long since I've been down there. Yeah, Danny boy, that place is awesome. It burned down in the fire probably 20 years ago when they rebuilt it, and it is really good. It's as good or better than I remember. Oh, look at this. Oh, man. You jamming on one of those pegs right underneath where it says Makita so they can read it? You going to have to get on the camera? Oh, he's terrible. He won't get on the camera. Let me do it. He's afraid of it. There you go. Now we're official. Ron Ward says 39 watching, 7 have hit the like. Well, cool. If you feel so inclined. Thought maybe barbecue with a hog on the roof. Yeah, well, they do smoke meat, and it is good. Any giveaways tonight? No, but, it's funny you mentioned that. It's still in here. That would be risky taking this up. I'm going to be doing a firearm training live pretty soon, and when I do, I'll be doing a giveaway of what I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's a Spetsnaz shovel is what we call it. I'm going to give one away. Let's see here. I have a question for Ben. Most old Partron Ward wants to know if you repair Bostitch coil openers. He sure does. So if you want to send it here, did you ship it to you? Yep. All right. Well, I can get your contact info. No problem. He does it. And he's been doing it. You graduated high school on a Wednesday and started Monday morning, didn't you, in 1996? That's how long he's been doing this. Since literally 5 days after he graduated high school, went to work for his dad here at Larry's Pneumatic Service, and has done it ever since. What's the most time you've ever even taken off?
I went to the hospital and had an operation once, but that's it.
Couple days, couple sick days is it. That's it. It's always ever, yeah. Indecisive Garage says, ran a personal best at Rockingham last Saturday, but discovered a small problem. We'll explain on the next video. Okay, right on. Yeah, that giveaway, I wish I could get it out of here. Man, that's taking, I'm going to try it anyway. I'm going to do something I really shouldn't do, which is called have all this stuff set right, and then foolishly, Ben's, he's laughing knowing there's a real good chance I'm going to screw all this up. Let's see if I can. You might see a nice crash here. And if you do, you're going to hear a whole lot of laughter from behind me. Oh, my gosh. This is so sketchy. I forgot to take it out of here. And, of course, then I go and set up on the box. Oh, my God. I got it. I'm going to be celebrating in the end zone too early. Let's do this lid back on this. So I don't get any grace and style points for that, but I did manage to get it. So give me a second. This is what happens when I leave the confines of my studio. I have to deal with stuff like this. All right. Well, that worked out pretty good. All right. So when I do another firearm training live, I don't know exactly when. I'm going to give one of these away. This is, you guys have all seen the American folding trench tools. Well, this is the Soviet version. And this is my personal one right here. And you can dig with them. You can fight with them. They're cool little pieces. And they're weighted and balanced. They're made to do a lot of stuff with. And they had these junk replicas that were flooding the market from somewhere. And Cold Steel finally started reproducing one that is excellent. And this is one of the Cold Steel ones. I have a real one, but this one you can totally use these. They're just as good for use as an original. So I'll be giving one of these away. And if you will learn how to fight and all kind of stuff with one, I can tell you some training to take for that too. No, get down there. Stay. Grilled grouper. Never had the opportunity to try that. Man, it was good. Had that with some rice. Sure will, Ron. That'll happen. The wood paneling is awesome. Well, it's been here ever since. How old is this building? 60s or something?
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all moved in here, I know, in 99.
Probably. It's that right.
Well, he and I, so I had a rental car at the time. And I'm surprised the Enterprise is still rented to me. But anyway, we had a Taurus rental car. Do you remember that scene in Days of Thunder where they had the Taurus rental car? Well, those two dudes didn't have anything on us with this Taurus. But I remember we were using it to move stuff over here. That would have been I think it's in 2000. That's how long they've been in here. But the building's been here since the 60s. Brazil managed to buy out some of the inventory from Napa. That sounds really cool. Doing sketchy stuff, well, sort of. Tactical shovel, yeah, it kind of is. The Russians, yeah, I made it originally. I may have a picture with one of the original ones. I don't know. If I do, I'll be glad to share it. But I took a training class from a guy named Sonny Bazikas. And he, no, I don't. I don't have it here. But he taught a class called Dirty Improvised Gadgets, DIG for DIG. And that's a fun class. Got to be careful pushing stuff with an airbag car. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't even want to tell you what they told us in auto shop about working with airbags, but needless to say, you leave the yellow wires alone. Most of the old parts are on board. It says over your left shoulder there's a Milwaukee display. If you haven't tried the torch Sawzall blade, buy some. They're offered in a few different lengths. Buy 3 of each. Okay, hot tip. Oh, speaking of that, your Milwaukee Sawzall just stopped. I have no idea. I only cut a couple things with it, and I just stopped. And then the headlight on it, the little light on it, just randomly at night, it just turned on for a minute and went back off. I haven't a clue. I have no idea, but I got it with me. He was nice enough to let me borrow his saw for doing some of that demolition work. Frizzell says, I chase obsolete parts. We filled pickup truck bed with some cool stuff. Yeah, I bet. Sounds like it came from Hobo Freight. No, this was a Milwaukee that did that. LSS Drone says it's ghosts. Nope, that's the one thing I confirm it's not. Although we have blown up some stuff in here over the years. I can still smell where we burn a mag drill down in the back here. Brazil's checking in. Well, cool, man. Safe travels for wherever else you're going. Turbo Tom says all airbag connections are gold plated. Yep, that's to keep them from corroding. And the wires are yellow. Brazil got all the old parts catalogs. That's good because a lot of that stuff doesn't translate over. You cannot get everything you need online, and the parts catalogs are invaluable when that happens. Thank you for the number, by the way. That's the only thing I forgot today was the number. I had a list. I have a handful of old parts catalogs came out of Advance Auto. And the cool thing is that even if the catalogs are 20 or 30 years old, they're still valuable for finding some of this stuff, new old stock on eBay or whatever. You can search for it by part number, things like that. There's value there. Dean Stevenson says 153. Well, yeah, actually 152, 3 hours, 41 minutes to be exact, but who's counting? It'll get here whether we're ready or not. Ron says that Frizzell's about to become a Napa auto parts store. With that would be cool. Maybe he can open a branch in Napa right there at the No Name Nationals. Why not 151 fish? Well, I'll be leaving 151 days, I guess. Dr. Goes says, just got days off work to make it to No Name Nationals 2026. You better hope the days are right. That's all I can say. Because I won't officially set the date until after this one. We were able to do it earlier this year than last. Now that Possum owns the track, it's a little easier to figure out, a little easier to work with. When Larry had it, he didn't have a year-round scheduling person or anything, so it was a little harder to get the dates locked down. Although Larry Jeffers was great too. I had no complaints there, but that was a little harder to do on pin and down date. Now we can do it earlier, and it also really helps that everything else is putting out their dates earlier than what they used to. So, all these other events, we try to not stack stuff up like that if we can. So. But anyway, this week in September has worked beautifully for years now, and it works great. There is no perfect week. People say you should move it because of this, move it because of that. Then you'll have a different set of people say, oh, why'd you move it? Now it's on top. You'll never win that game. Yeah, well, I'll let you, as soon as I know, we'll announce it. We had to kind of wait a little bit for a reason the last couple of years. Although last year I was able to just put it right out. So I hope I can continue to do it that way. Mohawk's putting in his permanent vacation days on January 3rd. Old McDonald says, just tuned in. Where are you? I am at Larry's Pneumatic Service in Bluefield, West Virginia. This is my friend Ben's shop, and I was coming down here for the weekend, and I'm going to be getting dirty doing floors and stuff tomorrow, and we're streaming from here tonight. That was the practical way to do it. So I asked him, he's said we could do a live from here whenever, so today just was the day. Although he's camera shy. He's hiding over there from the camera. BNR is here. By the way, if any of you guys have any, good tools, the things that, like, man, I had a really good American-made impact wrench, like a Mac or a Snap-on or Ingersoll Rand or something, and it's not one of these foreign junk ones, a good one. And it's like, man, I wish I had somebody to make that run again. This is the place that does it. So I'm sure you don't want to mail a hydraulic jack by freight. I'm sure you don't want to mail a Karcher electric pressure washer. There's a lot of stuff you probably don't want to send in. But especially if you have like a good air nailer, impact wrench, what else would be something like that? These guys would want to ship it to you.
Well,
Any power electric tool. But just know that, like, a lot of this, really cheap Chinese stuff is made disposable. That's not the kind of stuff we're talking about. We're talking about real parts, American stuff, Milwaukee stuff like that you want to keep and it's broken. Ron's asking about No Name Nationals bringing parts and stuff. That's fine. We don't want it to turn into a swap meet. We don't want people coming for it to be a swap, because then it just becomes all about things and not about all the exciting ideas and people going on at the event. But yeah, if people want to bring parts, we never have a problem with that. There's a lot of people that will show up and just bring their parts and set them out on the trailer. Nobody's ever stolen anything. That's fine. Andrew Nelson's in the house. How's it going? Thanks for being here. Mostly old parts as a Walker pneumatic bumper jack would probably not be feasible to ship. No, it probably wouldn't, but if you wanted to do it, he could fix it. I mean, I've seen him in here. BNR says, I have a few snap-on air ratchets and impacts made in the USA. Yep, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about right there. Rob's Rods and Streetcars, thanks for coming by. BNR says, lots of my snap-on tools in the 80s and 90s are American-made. Yes, that's it. That's the good stuff. That's the stuff that'll last you 20, 30 years, but if it does break, you need somebody to rebuild it right so it'll last another 20, 30 years. Evans Mopar Scott's, as he finally made it. Howdy, folks. Ron was thinking it'd be a good opportunity for participants to further fund their project. Sure. I mean, if people want to, we've never had a problem with anybody bringing parts. I mean, we don't want it to turn into a place where the swap meet guys, those guys that unload the same parts and load them back up the same parts and have their dreamer prices and sit around and talk about stuff. We don't want that to be, hey, where's the next place we can go do that? We don't want that to turn into the No Name Nationals. Yeah, Jabo says it's the only non-swap I bring stuff to. Yeah, exactly. The Bad Tree guys, they do it exactly like what we're talking about. Exactly. 38 says, I have 150 days to get this S10 done, do a rear swap, and put a hitch on the 59. There you go. Yep, 153 is the day. Ben saved the day with our number 153. It's the only thing I forgot. Danny Boy gives us some words of wisdom. Don't eat the brown ignition box. Okay. So how many people in the chat say that you should come over here? Would it take? If 35 people will say that you should come over here, would you do it? I know where I can get a picture of him. There's an angle over there that's got you in it. That's right. I forgot about that. You want me to show you when you were like 5 in that angle? Most of the old parts is I've got a 30-year-old air ratchet that Snap-on declined to service. You can do something with that, couldn't you?
As long as there's parts.
As long as there's parts, yeah. So Mark Phipps says, I don't own any Snap-on, but I do own Craftsman from the early 80s and mid-90s, and I really like my DeWalt power tools. You do a lot of DeWalt here. Rob's Rosin Streetcar says, I found a Glock I like. That's almost all Glocks. What Glock could you not like? I gotta say, there's a few Glocks I'm not crazy about. They're great guns. Yeah, Ron wants to meet our location host for the evening. Well, Ron, you can probably get to talk to him if you're going to send some tools in to be worked on. So there you go. That'll work. Lunar Outlaw Garage. Nice new background. Where are you? Larry's Pneumatic Service in Bluefield, West Virginia. B&R predicts the South will likely be booming 1 year from now. Lower labor costs than up north. Well, we're about, what are we? Just maybe 3 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles from the Virginia state line. So we're technically about 3 miles from the redrawn 1863 line right now. Dr. Go says, your friend is probably so busy already he doesn't want to become more famous on your show or he'll never get a moment of rest from work. So there's the theory. I forget that I'm one of the few people in the world that even knows what Ben looks like. You look online, you will not find him, I bet. He's like nowhere. Lunar says, I don't own a single Glock. I own several pistols, a lot of rifles. You can call me a FUD because 1911, 2 world wars, and good enough for my dad when he carries her. That's the most 1911 owner thing I've ever read. I'm actually not carrying a Glock today. I've got the Shield because I want it to be more discreet. Discreet and have a tucked-in shirt. It's not super easy to do both. J-Bo says, not my birthday. No, it is not. Love a 1911, though. I do, too. I like a 1911. I took a 1911 operator's course once. They're cool. It's just not what I carry every day. Mark Phipps says, I like my Rugers. Yeah, Ruger's been building a better pistol than they have in the last 10 years, I would say. B&R says, we have to build all the manufacturing equipment again. It can be done, but it takes time. Yeah, we should never have let it go. With all this complaining about the tariffs, we should never have gotten to this place. The communist Chinese said they are keeping our equipment recently. They just do what they want. Fab Race Mod Repeat from Northeast Dragway is here. Howdy. Good to see you in the chat. Ron says, speaking of old American-made tools, SK, Proto, KD, Wizard, and Lyle were not as common, but very comparable to Snap-on, Mac, and Matco. I remember all those old brands. LSS Drone says, we've hit a peak. Car talk. I just tried to torque my phone instead of charging it. That sounds interesting. I don't even want to know how you did that. T's Good Time Garage. Howdy. Crystal claims Damien had a birthday this week, if I recall correctly. I don't know. Mark Phipps says I'm right. I got to be right about a few things. People pay me to teach. I'm not right about everything, that's for sure. Probably not right about much. Indecisive says, does he fix them back to stock or can he turn them up like we want him to? So I guess you're talking about like an air ratchet or an impact wrench, right? I can tell you this, and again, you jump in. When Ben does like a rebuild on an impact, he blueprints things and polishes things, and yours usually give a little more on your torque back there. He's got a dyno for him that reads torque. You usually get more torque in the factory, don't you?
A little bit.
because you polish everything down, do the veins and everything. So you will get one that performs better than factory. But will he turn it up so that you can blow it up? No, because there are people who do that stuff. No, he really does a really super good job. Ron says, my go-to 3/8 drive ratchet is a 60-year-old SK. It's indestructible. Yeah, I've got several tools that are older than me, and I love them. J-Bo says, I've got a J.C. Penney ratchet. That means one thing. That means you're old. Ron says, if you want to hop up all your air tools, switch over to half-inch airlines and fittings. And then when you break them, send them right here. And then can tell you all about the parts you broke, like the hammer pins and the cages, and all that stuff, right? And it can tell you that you need to put a water separator on your line and that you oil them and all these things, right? What was that one place that we picked up from in Blacksburg where the dude had to, it was that little oil change place in the corner of Patrick Henry, and the dude had a compressor that was hundreds of feet from the shop because he didn't want the noise back in his building, but it would get water in lines. You'd go in there and he'd have like a pump for putting oil in the engine, and he would pull the air line off the wall and it would just spray water across the bay. That's what was going in people's engines there, was that. And the guy refused to fix it. I don't know if it's still like that, so I won't call him out. But if I knew he was still doing it, I would absolutely call him out. I mean, y'all put warranty in his stuff because he would never fix the problem. Anyway, yeah, that's what you got at that oil change place right there. DNR says, I remember about 20 years ago, Jay Leno needed a new ring and pinion gear set for his Packard V16. The machine sold to China. He had to fly there in person. From what I hear, having a custom ring and pinion made is like one of the most expensive things in the world. I mean, it's an enormous amount of money. So I can see why he did that. If there were just some dude who could make ring and pinions in his garage, good ones, he'd have all the business he ever wanted. But I have no idea what the tool would cost that. I bet it's crazy expensive. Lunar Outlaw invested in a really good set of Milwaukee's, and their big unit is very impressive. Yeah, their stuff is good. I have a little drill. There's a little 3/8 drill. I can't believe how much torque that thing makes. I drill big lag screws with it. Mark Phipps says an old Proto. A lot of those old tools were good. M&M says, I'm 15 years from halfway. Does that mean you're 35? I figured that out. LSS Drone wants to know what's the most underrated car in your opinion. That's a good question. What do you think is the most underrated car? Underrated. Well, I'll tell you one from personal experience is underrated is the Hyundai Excel. Those were some great cars. I put 400,000 miles on one. I mean, they really were great cars. I mean, because see, the ones that everybody talks about, the Corolla and Camry being able to put a lot of miles on them, but we all know that. People have all these stories about the Volkswagen Beetle, you know. But I would say you're talking about underrated and unsung hero. I would say that's one. What do you think? They're Ford people, by the way. I don't dare touch that camera. We just got it just right. But they have that was a 66 Fairlane on the wall over here, kind of wrap think style. And they've got Fords lined up here, different things. So this is definitely a Ford family over here. The old man was Ford, the brother's Ford, even the estranged brother's sort of Ford. Danny Boy says Jay can make about anything in his own shop. That's why he's car god. No, his people can make about anything in his own shop. He can make a third-degree burn when he works on stuff. Ron says you don't have to run as much pressure through your lines if you increase the diameter of the lines and fittings. Saves wear on the tools and too much pressure and improves tool performance. Ben concurs. He is the pro. He has done this since you were 18, I guess. Gosh. You basically had the same job since you were 18, like literally. Does it ever feel like Groundhog Day?
Some days.
Tell you what, though, he's got his area set up nice. He's got, how many plies are those like rubberized foam things that you walk on?
About 3 inches or so.
He's got like 5 of them piled up. He wants to soft his carpet back there. He's got some creature comforts, so we won't tell you about his creature comforts. I'll tell you about that one. I won't tell you about some of the other ones. He keeps it comfy around here. Fab Race Mod Repeat says Fabcraft makes their 9.3 Pontiac rings opinions in-house, I believe. Well, that's cool. B&R says the gear hog cutting machine for the high point ring and pinion is very, I'm sure it is. I'm also sure it's extremely expensive. Mostly old parts. I've never owned a flex head ratchet. It's on my list of things to buy. You know, I have never warmed up to those things. A flex head ratchet always seems like it's just never at the right, it won't hold the right angle. It's like it's the one size fits none. I've never liked a flex head ratchet. If you like them, that's great. They just feel weird to me. Ron says he thinks a Geo Metro is the most underrated. I could get behind that. Yeah. Indecisive Garage is an Opel GT. I don't know. A lot of people like those for hot rods, but I don't know. Maybe. Dean says the 68 to 72 Mopar 340 was listed at $275 gross. Actually, and Ron will know, the 68 to 71, I believe, was $275, and the 72 and 3 was $240. And the 346 barrel, I think, was $290. If I'm off on any of those, I'm sure Ron will know. Dust Devil says that just about anything AMC has been underrated. I wouldn't doubt that. LSS Drone had a Geo Metro, ran good, got good gas mileage. Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a good choice. Phipps likes his flex head ratchets. Yeah, man, if you like them, more power to you. I'm sure there's one thing that it reaches better than anything, especially when the handle's in the way. It's always just felt awkward to me trying to use it. Yeah, I don't know. You know, all of those horsepower figures are kind of weird. Most of the old parts says the 258 AMC was a prime example of building an engine for longevity. Dad's 258 inline 6-inch Jeep, it's still in there, still original. I did pull the head off of it in 2017 for valve job and all that, but the main bearings are just worn out. The thrust bearing's worn out. You can push the clutch in on that thing and just watch that crank walk. It really needs to come down. B&R says Southern boys used to make the best ring opinions. Yeah, I don't know. Most of the old parts says the Waltons delivered that paneling from the sawmill. They have. I don't know. Dean says Mopar 340s are highly underrated. I don't know about that. Great engines, though. One-Eyed Cat says, I'll be listening. Told Wendy I'd have the dishes done. The secret to married life. Well, I'm glad you understand and pay your tax, Don. That sounds like you got a handle on it. Heavens Mopar says, I got a free 60-gallon air compressor. I took out the broken drain plug on the bottom. At least 15 minutes of solid stream of water. So in other words, don't send it here. If it blows up, at least it'll be in a shed outside of the garage. I wouldn't play around with that. I would at least stick a bore scope in there and see what the inside of that tank looks like. That could be a bomb, you know? That would scare me, man. Well, I don't know that's necessarily how I would say underrated. It doesn't have to be low power. We didn't say that it was based on power. It could be longevity. It could be looks, sound. It could be anything. Yeah, B&R says something would be my guess. Someone silent making the ring opinions. Yeah, that's probably more closer to right. Ron says 70 was lower than 68.9. Well, that makes sense because I know the 68 had a different cam. So I didn't know that. I thought 68 to 71 was the same. If it works, a 60 gallon would be nice. Yeah, I would just want to make sure that tank was solid. Ron wants one of the carburetors from 71 340. I guess that's a big thermoquad, I'm assuming. Where is Jethro? Jethro is at my treehouse. So I got a place in Bluefield, and I got too many places actually, but most of my places are here. But the place where I stay when I come in is a few miles. What is this, like 2 miles from here? And that's where Jethro hangs out. So he's probably watching The Sopranos on Blu-ray and eating popcorn or something, just hanging out, chilling. LSS Drone says he was reading that AMC was the first automaker to make a compact four-wheel drive vehicle for mass market, the AMC Eagle in 80. Yeah, they had set, I think the Eagle, the Spirit, the Concorde, all that stuff, yeah, they came out with them in the 80s. They're really cool. I think they're neat. Oh, and they ran a torque flight too, which was, to me, of course, makes anything cooler. SSR Performance, Big James in the house. Big James, if you need any of your, air electric, hydraulic, impact, those kind of tools done, American made, done here in the USA. This is the guy that does it. My friend Ben's been doing it for 30 years now, probably more. Unfinished projects said, married or not, the dishes need done. Well, nobody does mine but me, I can tell you that. Does anybody come do your dishes? No, there's two guys right here do our own dishes. I get that. Really? Paper plate Ben over here. That's even more bachelor than me. I use more paper plates on targets than I do to eat on. Dust Devil Garage says 73 and 74 B-body Mopars are underrated. I would agree with that. And now that, people are having to take a little bit harder look at things that are available on the market to buy, you're seeing them come around on these things. So, yeah, I would agree with that. I think they're cool. I love Daisy Duke's 73 Roadrunner. Remember that?
Yeah.
Those are good-looking cars. I thought 73 Ford were great. LSS Drones Geo Metro was a 3-cylinder. Yeah, they were neat. Danny Boyd likes a Subaru. Yeah, but Subaru has that weird DNA. Everything to me is a little weird to work on. I know the air-cooled Volkswagen shops usually do Subarus because they're opposed to similar language, but I've never done much any work on a Subaru. Roy Boy has an extra thermoquad from a 72 340 if that works. So opine on that, please, Ron. I learn a lot of stuff. If I have these resto type questions, Ron is the guy to ask. Mohawk said I put an automatic drain valve on my air compressor. Best thing I ever did. Helped the water separators a lot. Okay, hot tip. I think I'll do that. You got, what is that compressor back there? That one that, what is that one back there?
30.
Huh?
That's 30.
Okay, who makes it? No, that little one is sitting in the hallway over there. The one that needs a capacitor.
That's like 30.
Yeah, but who makes it?
I don't know. I have to look at it. I think it's DeVilbiss.
It's like an old DeVilbiss. Who wants to see some old DeVilbiss footage? Any content on one of those getting together? That'd be cool. I can maybe film a little bit of stuff going on when I'm here. He just doesn't want to be in. He doesn't want to model. I can see the game board, but we can't see Vanna, right? Lingering in the background. He's just sitting right over there. I think if the building was on fire, he would avoid going through here to get out somehow.
I'll get the window here.
Yeah, okay. He'll get one of his tools, cut the window out, go that way. Another vehicle I classify as underrated is the VW Scirocco. Radiator fans set up in those cars gained mass appeal from drag racers and pro streets today. Yes, actually, that's true. I forgot about that. Yep, that is true. And it was a key to one of those. An ignition key was mentioned in Family Guy. I think Stewie mentioned that. About the only time you hear about those things. Dust Devils like you. He says paper plates are the way to go. Oh, man, you're going to start ganging up on me. So tell us in the comments, paper plates or wash your stuff like a civilized human being. Let's take a quick poll on this. Let's take a poll. This is mostly guys in here, so you might win. Old McDonald says that's what dishwashers are made for. No, that's when they put parts in them. What are you talking about? Most of the old parts says the huge drawback to a 72 to 3B body was the isolated K-member leaf springs. I totally agree. That was the dumbest thing, putting that rubber isolation on the K-frame. I hated that. Hated that. But yes, they are cool cars. I think you fix that. It's good to go. Ron says the 72 thermoquad is different than the 71. The 71 is the holy grail of thermoquads. I had no idea. I don't know enough about it. DNR says a Ducati just ripped by my farmhouse doing about 100. Sounded good. Right on. You should get a short of that. You hear that guy coming. 38 Racing says that AMC sponsored the crew cars at Unlimited Hydroplane boat race they helped with in the 80s. Cool little cars to sprint. Yeah, I thought so. I thought they were neat. And they were built well. You know, you could actually run those things. Ron says he owns a collection of vintage DeVilbiss paint guns. Yeah. That's the kind of thing you'd work on, put valves and stuff in them. Yeah. Unfinished Project says wash, and I agree with him, and I knew he would too. LSS says paper plates different. What? You know, here I thought I was such a savage, and these guys are like, yep, Ben's right, Ben is enlightened.
I've washed mine, but they wouldn't last this one.
He says he washes paper plates. Well, I got to tell you, and this is probably the worst thing ever. So, I hate to even admit this. You guys see me when it's cold drinking hot chocolate out of a Solo cup? I actually wash those and put them back. And what happens is I'll use them a few times. But what happens is I'll set one down, and Jethro will grab it and shred it up because he's bored and he wants to lick the hot chocolate out of it. And that's what happens to them. So they last a few times if they're gone. Now, here's my beef with that. So LSS Drone says once you're done, you just throw it away. The problem with that is I don't want my trash stinking for a week. So I rinse everything out before I even put it in the trash. Roy Boy says paper plates 80%, not for steak though.
Yeah, but that's what the neighbor's yard's for.
He says that's what the neighbor's yard's for. Oh my gosh. Dust Devil says paper plates, instant mashed potatoes, and sweet cornbread. 1, 2, 3. Yep. That's horrible, man. Why don't you add clip-on ties to that list while you're at it? I got to tell you, the only place I've seen where clip-on ties are legit, there's one place, and that is like courtroom security. Or if you have any security job where you wear a tie, you want one that breaks away because you don't want anybody to be able to have your neck with a tie like that. So that's the reason why clip-on ties are not on my list of things that shouldn't have been invented. But if you want to make the best looking detachable security tie, get a regular tie, get it tied exactly right where the length and knot are perfect, cut it in the back, have it stitched on the back so the knot can't loosen up, and then in the back put a snap on. Then you can have the best of both worlds. It'll still look really nice, and it is a true tie, but you've made it that way to attach. Definitely not for steak, I would agree. 6th Street Garage says wash. He washes his plates. So it looks like we're about half savages, and half refined in here. It's good. course, then again, we've also got the group that only eats stuff that comes out of the side of a building in a bag, and they say water plates. DNR looks like he did some parts swapping with Jeff. That's cool. Okay, so finally have a woman's perspective on this. Let's see what Crystal Kilgore says. Fine china paper plates and plastic silverware and paper bowls. Two here, my lower back disagrees with standing or walking forward. I don't even know what that means. What does any of that even, can you decipher that? Are you Crystal Boomhauer? What does that mean? Okay, Buff says plates, paper plates, or small sheet of aluminum. What does that mean? What is small sheet of aluminum? What does that mean? Did I just lose my sanity? I've just read 2 comments in a row. It's like these people, this is just like an ESL class or something, and they're just posting this stuff, and I don't know what it means. LSS Drone says, when I go to Sam's, I get the big pack of paper plates and I'm set. I reckon. Ron says, Scirocco radiator, Mustang 2 front suspension, 9-inch rear, and a power glider. Recipe for early 90s pro streeter. All good stuff. I mean, that's still a very legit combo. The thing is you can't go to a junkyard hardly and get any of that anymore. So Dean says the Ducati is underrated. You're too uptown for us, Dean. LSS says the sad thing is that even got a dishwasher. You have a dishwasher? I don't either. Well, actually, I have one. I don't think it's worked in 20 years. I don't care. I don't use it. Never used it.
I thought you said you had
I mean,
lights.
he does sometimes. Depends what's on. Unfinished Project says we eat off vintage dishes because they're cool. I agree with that. LSS says you've got to eat all the food off of it. Yeah, pretty much do. I'm real efficient, you know. DNR said that was a gift to Jeff. Crowler Polylocks. I don't have a 3/8 stud. Prices went up. Yeah, they did. Golly, everything's expensive now. You wouldn't believe what steaks get now. Everything is pricey today. Crystal says pine scent trash bags work great. Maybe I'm just not as into scented things like that. I would rather, I don't like things get too overpowered. The nice thing is, though, is my kitchen, I can put it right out behind on this brick back porch and then drop it right in the trash can. Looks great. LSS Drone says you clean your plate when you grew up, not supposed to throw it. Dude, I am extremely efficient. I throw away less food than anybody you know. I'm really efficient. Danny Boyd says, I refuse to wear a tie. Well, we were in school. So he reminded me of this, I forgot. We had a chapel service on Fridays, and in exchange for that punishment, we got out an hour and a half early. But you had your choice. You could either wear dress pants and you didn't have to wear a tie, but if you wore jeans, you had to wear a tie. So they were going to punish you on one end or the other. And you always opted for the tie, didn't you? I always opted for the tie. I almost always opted for the tie. Ron Ward says, I used to work in a shop that serviced motorcycles as well as other repairs. Ducatis are incredible performers, but the service intervals are often inexpensive. Yep. Yeah. LSS says, at least we're not eating out of our hands. Well, we don't have pizza here anyway. Man, that fish was good. We gotta go out there sometime. That's some good stuff. They do good pulled smoked pork there, too. That's really good. Unfinished Project says, I wear ties. I enjoy it, but I'm glad I don't have to wear it. Yeah, I wear a tie occasionally, like when I got a class or something. Some reason I need to, I wear a tie. Not very often, though. Ben doesn't even want to know how to tie a tie. He wants to wear one so frequently.
96.
Yeah, if I see you wearing a tie, it means you're in custody somewhere. I mean, something's not. Dust Devil says Taco Bell doesn't use plates. Yep, I knew it. Old McDonald says instead of paper plates and microwaves, use tinfoil on exhaust manifolds. Dallas was cooking something on an exhaust manifold at No Name Nationals one year. He sure did. He cooked something on the motor of his truck. And I can't remember what it was. If Dallas pops in here, you got to ask him about that. His barbecue he had going on there. Crystal says, I can't stand at the sink to wash dishes. Okay, that makes sense. Try cutting sheet aluminum with a steak knife. Makes me cringe just thinking about it. 6th Street Garage. Does anyone remember the Hyundai Excel had the master cylinder on the passenger side? Yes, it did. I have replaced that before. I converted an '89 Hyundai Excel from automatic to manual one time, and so I had to change that long rod that went across under the dash to go to the master cylinder. I'm very familiar with that. Most of the old parts is just an FYI. Paper plates unwaxed are awesome for mixing body filler. Just throw one on a mixing board and pitch when done. That is excellent advice. I like that. That's great. It's a great use for paper plate. LSS Drones said the truck drivers say they could put their steak on an engine while riding up the road and get to their stop if it's good. Yeah. Dallas actually did that, I think, for the first No Name Nationals. He cooked something on his engine, I think. He told me he did that. 38 says, hey, as long as there's food, what's the big deal about what you eat it off of? Yeah, I agree with that. And Crystal says, growing up, plastic silverware and paper plates were called fine china. I like it. I like it. Thank you for bringing me up to speed on that. That's cool. Oh, now I see what we're seeing. We're seeing that light moving because I've got it on this table I got set up here. Okay. Keep wondering what that was. I don't have my setup problem like that at home because I've got a desk that's fixed, and then I've got my camera mounted. So I've got things kind of improvised here. Buff says, haven't you eaten off a clean scrap of aluminum sheet metal? No, I have not. Probably eaten off a dirty stainless table or something. Yeah. Colleen said, when we didn't have a dishwasher, it was paper plates. Now we have a dishwasher and glass dishes. Moving on up. Just like the Jeffersons. Rob Ward, being uppity here, says, real pro streeters have big blocks. Okay, so here's a good one for you. This will remind you of here. Mohawk says, I remember well, my little sister stabbed me in the face because she wouldn't eat her peas. Little sister's a savage. No one could leave the table till her plate was clean. I tried to help. She was 3, I was 4. And you're lucky you still have both eyes. Unfinished project. Thanks for worried about his autocorrect. Good. Now that's Savage Hunter. Mean Street Mopar. What's up, everyone? What did I miss? An hour of general nonsense. BNR said, did you know Professor P invented the Crower Enduro stainless steel rocker arm? No, but that doesn't surprise me whatsoever. Professor P is actually responsible for a lot of the things we have now. Ron Ward says, it seems the only time I eat baked beans is when they're on a paper plate. Yeah, it's because usually baked beans are a cookout thing because people only want to serve them outdoors. LSS says, it sounds like the majority of us use paper plates. No, the majority of ones that wanted to comment. Ron says, I wear a tie with a holster in it. No, I often wear a holster with my tie, though. And I wear them together, the same outfit. I opted to go with a pullover today instead of a tie. And have a tuckable holster because you tuck your shirt tail in, you either open carry or wear a cover garment. It was 77 degrees today, so something a little different. Because leaving the house unarmed is unacceptable. If you buy from a restaurant, you don't have to worry about any plates. Well, this is true. Danny Boy says, I see a dog or a cat. There's a cat right over there. And what? She came running through here and hopped on the table. There's Dallas. 38 Racing says, I went to a suit and tie event in New Orleans in 09, forgot my tie. Bought a vintage tie and had the countergirl tie for me. There you go. Okay, Dallas says, I cooked hot dogs in a bun wrapped in aluminum foil on the exhaust manifold. There we go. I knew it was something. Graham Pito Vic is here. Howdy. Thanks for coming by. LSS Drone is 124 subscribers away from 500. Cool. If you've not yet checked out his channel, do. He's got some really neat aerial photography on there, so check him out. His most popular video is probably that truck video, getting run off the road, getting the truck driver fired. Hey, Lars, if you can you put up the link to LSS Drone's channel? Matthew says, you're a bit deaf, aren't you? That sounds just like a line out of No Country for Old Men at the gas station. I like that. At the gas station? That's good. Captain Dude, I've been practicing welding on an arc welder, and I'm getting kind of good at it, but still a little rusty since my high school years. Okay. No, stay after it. DNR says, Wednesday night, Professor P answered difficult questions I had about Pontiac V8 crankshaft design balance engineering. Surprised to me, Shane stated Pontiac had the best crankshaft oil at the time. Professor P's a smart dude, and he's in the house. Look at that. What's up, suckers? Professor P just had something pretty cool designed for him, so I'm going to let him tell you guys about it on his channel in his time, but I thought it was neat. Joe says, all right, Mopar people, let's all cheer Levi on to get the most Easter eggs this weekend. Time to lurk in the garage, Professor P says. Ron says, if Dallas keeps doing that, he'll put the concession stand out of business. No, it is kind of interesting. You should do a short on that, Dallas. That'd be cool. Unfinished projects taking his lunch break. And by the way, we did have an interview style live with the voice of the No Name Nationals, Mr. Ron Ward, and pretty soon we're going to be scheduling one of that style with Just Mopar Joe. So if you want to see old pictures and all that kind of stuff that you don't normally get to see and hear about Just Mopar Joe, that'll be a good one to tune into. Mean Street Mopar is doing some 4-speed stuff. So what is your goal, Mean Street Mopar? How many subs are you from 500, and what are you wanting to bring to the No Name Nationals this year? Mean Street broke 300. Yeah, I think he's over 300. He's actually running second right now behind Stinker Salvage. Ron's advising an old school impact driver. You're talking about the poor man's impact that you strike with a hammer. Those things are the best for getting the screw out of the brake rotor on a Honda. They were great for that. Anything else will tear it up. Ron Ward is asking if Levi's here tonight. I haven't seen him. Doesn't mean he won't be, but I haven't seen him yet. Dallas says you got to do what you got to do to stay alive and participate at the No Name Nationals. That's right. 152 days, 2 hours, and 54 minutes. We got our counter up here, which is white this week, because that's the one thing I forgot was that. But Lars and Ben, worked together on the assist to get this one. So I thought I could trick Ben into getting on camera hanging it up back there, but it's like, no. So for those of you who just got here, we're at Larry's Pneumatic Service in Bluefield, West Virginia tonight. This place still rebuilds American-made tools, air, electric, hydraulic, whatever, right here in America. So if you have that Ingersoll Rand, Snap-on, Mac, Chicago Pneumatic, all those good old brands, good tools, and you need them rebuilt so that you can get another 30 years out of them, this is the place right here. Slant Daily wants me to go ahead and tell him. So he had a 3-speed reverse manual valve body with lockup done by Cope Racing Transmissions. So that's interesting. You don't see that. That's different. So nobody else has that. So he's going to have number 001. And who knows? I may eventually have one too. Which makes perfect sense. I don't know why you couldn't do that. Junkyard D says Levi's basket will probably break before the egg. Maybe. It probably will. It probably will. If he has to walk more than 660 feet, it definitely will. Dean says, why is the tallest guys have the lower deck engines? This is true. I never thought about that. This is true. Because Joe's 11 feet tall and he runs a low deck big block. Main Street Mopar plans on having the Diplomat done for No Name Nationals. Cool. Got several things going there, but I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, I might have worms. Grand Vito Vic, you never know. Most of the old parts is I hope Ken is getting some sponsor dollars from Stanley, Makita, and Milwaukee tonight. Are you okay? I guess I'm here having fun with y'all. Why not? I ate great today. I had a great dinner. Grilled grouper, pulled pork, really good bread, good stuff. Rice. Great. Fries were good too. The fries are good out there. They fries, and they had a little cup of barbecue sauce, but instead of putting barbecue sauce on the pork, I dipped the fries in it. Yeah. We got to go out there sometime. We should do it. It was good. Grouper, good stuff. Yeah, everything there was good. I hadn't eaten there in decades. I've been doing some stuff here lately I haven't done in many decades. The old school I hadn't been into in a really long time. That video is going to be out on Tour Angie channel. It goes better on her channel than it does here. But you guys, I'll certainly put the link and share it and promote it a little bit here if you want to see it. We actually toured our old high school, and I hadn't been in there in close to 30 years. And so I've gotten to see a few of my classmates I haven't seen for a very long time while I've been down here too. It's been great. Ron Ward had fried fresh catfish, homemade coleslaw, and fried green beans for lunch. Well, that sounds excellent. Captain Deuce said healthy food means longer life. I'm probably opting out of that one. Get your tools done soon. We won't be here long. Yeah, Ben and I aren't worried about how our entries are going to be in Wikipedia for the oldest verified people. We're not thinking like that. Cutter Down Garage says, call the old school Ingersoll Rand 1-inch impact. The man, maker, or breaker. You do those all the time. He does 1-inch impacts here all the time. What's the biggest ones you do here?
I have done an inch and a half.
Yeah, he has done some inch and a half. He is an impact wrench dyno back there. And one of these days, if he's willing, I'll do a shop tour here because there's some really cool stuff here. He's an impact dyno. How much does it read?
Reads over 2,800 foot.
It reads 2,800 pound-feet of torque. But that dyno, and when he rebuilds an impact, it typically will get a little more torque than when it's new. Usually. It But usually about what range are you in over factory?
It varies. It depends on what it is.
Yeah. Yep. But he did one for me, just one. We does great work. So if you got an old Impact or Air Electric tool, we're not talking about disposable stuff that came from Harbor Freight. We're not talking about that. But if you have that kind of stuff and you want it rebuilt, tuned up, and all that, this is the place to go. I can put his contact info down in the description for those watching this after the fact. And if you have anything like that, just shoot me a note and I'll get you his info. You will have to get it to Bluefield, West Virginia. Ben does not leave the zip code, but you can ship it. If you're anywhere within 50, 60 miles of here, it might be on their pickup route, maybe. But for all that matters, you can send it to me and I can get it to him. That's no problem. It's worth doing if you've got some of these cool old tools they don't make anymore and you can still get parts. And there's a good chance I can even do content on the rebuild getting done, which is really neat stuff. I've seen how he does a lot of it. It's neat. Dust Devil says, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Dizzy said he had a timeshare in St. Pete Beach for 30 years and fished every summer. Sounds cool. LSS Drone has a philosophical question. This is for you, Ben, for anybody. Are modern muscle cars still muscle cars or just fast boats with AC? What do you think? Would you call it a muscle car or is it a transportation appliance masquerading as a muscle car?
I guess it depends on the way it's like it is.
Okay, let's just say one of the new Dodge Chargers, the newer ones.
I guess.
He says, I guess. It's an unenthusiastic one. Ron Ward says, I remember when Sue made some amazing air tools.
Still do.
He says, still do. 2,800 pounds, that would spin me around and twist up the hose. That's what it goes to. What's the most you've ever put on that dyno? You remember?
Well, with the 1.5 inches, I have maxed it out.
He says he's maxed it out. The 1.5 inches will max it?
Oh, yeah. More than that.
Man.
But I can only go so far.
Well, the table, what does the table weigh? That table's half-inch steel or something, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, table's half-inch steel bolted to the floor. Russell from Outfits Garage, howdy, glad you're here. Ron Ward says, I'm of the opinion that a muscle car should have manual steering, manual brakes, and manual windows. I could get behind that. I could go with that. I tell you, I could just take it or leave it when it came to manual steering, unless I got a trailer. You trying to back a trailer in the dark in a driveway like I've got up here at the treehouse, I want that power steering for that. And an automatic for that matter. Grand Pito Vic says that he and Jonathan from Parked Up Garage found out my E38 ECU is burnt. And that's why I haven't been able to fire off my LS3. Okay, well, that's good. At least you found it. That's progress. So that's moving it forward, right? Mohawk loves the body style of the new Charger, but they made them all EV, and that sucks. Yeah, I actually liked the 4-door police Chargers they made when they did the revival of the Charger. I thought it was cool. I mean, it's not a Charger, but it's still a cool car. Dizzy says, we own precious metals. Mine just happened to be Plymouth. Junkyard D says, I have only had the yellow tools, wondering from a power and dependability standpoint. What kind of yellow tools? I got to tell you, if you guys have any questions about tools, this is a good time to ask. We have a true pro in the house, even though he's hiding off the camera. I mean, this is a good time to ask your question. If you've got questions about like impacts or electric tools and that kind of thing, vintage and all, Ben knows his stuff. Captain Do says a muscle car should have the same stuff as pickup trucks, pull, heavy haul. That's what makes it a muscle. Okay. Grand Pito Vic loves the big body 4-door cars for some reason. I just do. Yeah, yeah, that works. Nothing wrong with that. LSS Drone Steve says to come out, quit hiding. Good luck on that one. I'm telling you what, I bet there are people out there that think that Ben doesn't really exist because they've never seen him, like ever, anywhere. Outfit says, I hear Dodge is bringing back the Hemi. Yeah, it was the same one they just had. I don't know what news there is about that. They're not bringing back the Hemi. That would be cool. Dust Devil Garage says it's WrestleMania weekend. This will be, what, the 41st, I believe? The first one was in 1985. At least show a hand. So LSS Drone wants you to come over and wave.
I'll draw.
Well, you can, okay. All right, draw him something. Okay, so we're gonna prove these exist. He's gonna draw you something, and he's gonna get on this side of the camera and lower it down so you can see it. I don't know what he's drawing over there. If it was his brother, I probably wouldn't let him. All right, let's see what this is. There you go. That's all you get. That's all you get. Cutter Down Garage says, is the 3/4 air? I guess you need 3/4 inch impact or something. He has air impacts up to 1.5 inches here. And I mention things sometimes more than once on these live streams because people come in shifts at different times. If you've ever seen the Ingersoll Rand 231 impact in my videos, there's a few of my videos that have it in it. It's red, white, blue with the flag. And Ben did that one. That's great work. Okay, Junkyard D says, DeWalt versus Milwaukee, comparison of longevity and power. What say you?
Depends on the tool.
Depends on the tool. Depends on the tool. You give us the tool, Ben will give you an expert opinion. He said, okay, LSS is satisfied that you exist. Dean says, this is like Toy Story when Andy tries to prove Buzz Lightyear is okay. Ben is a good friend of mine. We've known each other for 42, 43 years, something like that. We knew each other since we had brown hair. Imagine that. Yeah, definitely my oldest friends. Me and his brother. Aunt D is a big fan of Milwaukee M12 stuff and have a lot of it. Okay, so if Milwaukee makes anything that's a turd, what is it?
Their Dremel tool and their soldering iron.
Okay, he says that Milwaukee's Dremel style tool and their soldering iron, if they have anything that's not good. Okay, so just in general, hey, if you want to, you get up on the other side of that camera, they can hear you just as good as me. If you want to. What are the tools that you would say, based on what you see coming in here, people should avoid buying? If you wanted to pick, like, say, 5, just general power or air or whatever tools that you'd say, you know what, that thing is horrible, what would they be?
I don't care for DeWalt's outdoor stuff.
He says the DeWalt outdoor stuff, like
The chainsaws, weed eaters, they tend to have a lot of problems.
the chainsaws, weed eaters, that kind of stuff from DeWalt. He says he sees a lot of that have problems.
I had 2 of their push motors that they just obsoleted and just made new ones.
Oh, yeah, he said that, yeah, that's true, that you couldn't get the parts for them.
Yeah.
He said he had their push mowers come in here. What kind of push mowers do they make? Are they electric?
Yeah, yeah.
He says they don't even make parts for them.
That model, but they have a new model replaced.
Mean Street Mopar asks, does my Diplomat count as a muscle car? It's got manual brakes, manual steering, and manual windows. I didn't know Diplomats even came with manual steering. I'm going to say yes. I'm going to give that a yes. It's an old cop car. I'm going to say yes on that. What say y'all? Junkyard D says, I need to update my power tools, debating which way to go. So Junkyard D is going to get some new power tools. He's going to update.
What is he looking for?
Yeah, what kind of tools are you looking for? And we'll see what Ben says would be his recommendation. Because he sees everything. There's nothing you haven't seen break in every different way come in here.
If I had to buy one, I'd probably go with Milwaukee because everybody sells them.
Yep.
They have the best rookie out there.
Yep.
You can buy just a tool and then get like a Chinese battery for it that looks good.
Now, he says that if he was doing an update, I don't know how y'all can hear him over here, but he says that if he was going to do an update, he would go with Milwaukee because he says they're sold everywhere, they work good. He says you can buy just a tool and you can use like a Chinese battery or something to save money getting extra batteries and they work. Not everything will do that. So that's his recommendation. And I mean, gosh, I don't know how many thousands of tools you've fixed over the years. You've seen them broken in every way they can break. So his recommendation carries a lot of weight with me on stuff like this for sure. Danny Boyd says they should have rebranded a Weller soldering iron. I would agree with that. I've had a real good look out of Wellers. Danny Boyd says Chicago Pneumatic with a question mark. Now the Chicago Pneumatic, don't some of them have like the one hammer pin and cage style instead of the dual?
Yeah. Basically, they kind of went away from that, but they did years ago.
Yeah, right. I've seen a lot of them. He says they've gotten away from it, though. Danny Boyd says that stuff you were talking about is outside of DeWalt's wheelhouse. Yes, it is, but it doesn't stop them from trying to do it. Grand Pito Vic says, I've used Makita and the Impact ran all day on the same battery, and the DeWalt went through threes doing electrical, running self-tappers.
Yeah.
So why would that be? Why would the Milwaukee be better on the battery? Or the Makita, rather, be better on the battery than the DeWalt?
Well, it depends on what size the battery is. The Makita might have more power.
Okay. Well, I know he likes Makita. You got enough Makita stuff here.
Yeah, Makita's outdoor products. I got a bunch of them. They look really good.
He does recommend the Makita outdoor products. You just like Makita's calipers.
Well, they don't do it.
They don't do them anymore. Old McDonald says, I burn out my battery-powered Ryobi 10-inch chainsaw within 3 months. It lasted 3 months. That's awesome. I got to tell you what's about the best bang for the buck are these corded Portland Harbor Freight $44 chainsaws. You'd be amazed how much service you'll get out of one of those. It is ridiculous. Dougster's in the house. Howdy, Dougster. Glad you're here. Danny Boyd says, I still prefer corded despite cutting through the cord of my circular saw 2 years ago. There was a dude outside our office building one time trimming shrubs, and he cut through his extension cord trimming the shrubs, and he asked if he could borrow one. I happened to have one he could borrow, and he cut through it. And then he threw both his and mine away. I mean, if he was going to throw his away, I would have taken his and fixed mine and his and called it even. Then I'd had two good cords. He threw them both away. Same guy bought a house from us, and then it got foreclosed on immediately. So anyway. 38 Racing says, love my Milwaukee chainsaw, even though it leaks ball oil.
Yeah, that's kind of common. DeWalt's even worse.
Captain News says Toy Story is 30 years old. The first Pixar Disney film I was in the first grade when it was released, just the time when the song Macarena was out in the fall of '95. Well, thank you for that insightful history list. That's pretty cool. LP94 says, short of Ben rebuilding an impact wrench for a customer. This has to be the one we pressed the bearing out a few weeks ago. I don't have a video of him doing an impact. He got scared for a minute about Ada seat cushion, thinking there was a video of him, but no, that's the one where you were heating up, getting that bearing out. Junkyard D says, I need some home renovation tools for work and automotive tools for play. Yeah, I got to tell you, everything I've ever had in Milwaukee, I'm really happy with. But their circular saw does not fit in its case properly, no matter what I do. Why is that?
Well, you see that a lot with a lot of it.
I don't know why that is. It just doesn't fit. Dizzy says, I have about 60 Mopar chrome interior screws with the chrome raised washers, if anyone needs them. Wow, that's pretty cool. Ron says, headed to bed, folks. Got to be at work at 7. Night off. Thanks for coming by, Ron. We appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for being here. Hey, Dizzy, have you gotten any traction on your house? Didn't the listing just come up on it? Or has it come up yet? I think it was right about now it was supposed to come up. Aunt D says, I think I burned out a second 18-volt Ryobi circular saw. Neither one lasted long. How is the Milwaukee 18-volt?
They've got a good one, yeah.
Okay. Ben says, thumbs up on the 18-volt Milwaukee. Unfinished Project puts up the link for Stinger Salvage and Mean Street Mopars and Indecisive Garage. All of them are running in the No Name 500 right now. They've got 152 days and 3 hours and 32 minutes. They got to get their 500 subscribers, so go check them out and see if they earn your sub. All 3 of them have earned mine. Grand Pito Vic says the DeWalt had an extended battery and the Makita was a standard battery. I don't know why, but they seem to work well. I'm going to buy a kit. Okay, there you go. That's Grand Pito Vic's consumer review. Unfinished Project puts up the link to, hey, you'll like this channel, Ben. The name of it is Rust Before Holes. I could have been a business here in town at one time. I think they just tore the building down. Grand Pito Vic's got to be up at 4:30 tomorrow morning. Yeah, tell me about it. Got the link for Lone Wrench Garage. He's got 82 subs. He's running last in the No Name 500. There's still plenty of time. Go check it out. Lone Wrench Garage has an 18 tribute van on his channel. So, yeah, check it out if you want. It's pretty cool. Cave Dave says, if you can cut a circular saw cord, you can cut your fingers off. I would reckon that's true. But I'll tell you what, I'm not lying. Running a circular saw is scary. I got to tell you, I'm always really careful to get out of the way. Those things make me nervous. BNR says, I watched the short by Wilbur. Need to send him my vintage 1990 Snap-on half-inch impact. Snap-on told me to throw it away, but I kept it. Get a model number off of that thing and send it. We'll see if we get parts for it. Dougster said, I'd have just made 2 shorter cords out of the original cut cord. Maybe. Cords aren't hard to repair, though. Dean says that his daughter has seen the Toy Story 1 movie 45 times, right the way through. So were you counting? Or you just like put a tick mark on a sheet every time she watched it? How do you know that? LSS Drone keeps popping up these food for thought questions. If you could bring back one discontinued car model with modern tech, the original style, what would it be and why? Well, we've had several car makers try to do that or similar to that. I would say not any of that because to me, it's the old style tech that I want. So, for instance, the worst version of this I've ever seen is when the Volkswagen Beetle, they did that reboot. Remember that thing they did in the late 90s? What a piece of garbage that was. They took everything good about the Volkswagen Beetle. You know, the air-cooled, the transaxle, all of the simple, really great engineering of the Volkswagen Beetle made it what it was. And they just took this round gumdrop-looking car with this modern, overcomplicated Euro trash drivetrain. Of course it was no good. They took everything good out of the Beetle when they did the reboot. So, to me, there's really nothing like that I want to see. I want to see the old technology. It just won't happen. We all know that. Russell, take care. Thanks for coming by. We appreciate you. Mopar's Mustangs and Minivans says YouTube has been recommending a lot of Mean Street Mopar lately. Keep it up. Indeed, I've been getting a lot of suggestions from his work too, and I'm glad to see him. He's after it. So go check out Mean Street Mopar, and he's over 300 subs. And when he gets a little closer, we're gonna have a 500 party for him. And that guy's been in the hunt for 3 years now. So this is his season. Unfinished Project puts up a link that says best tariff-free peach cobbler west of China. I don't even know what that is, but he put up a link for it. LSS Drone put up the old 1980 Mazda RX-7. He says he misses that. That's a good vehicle. Dougster says, when shopping Harbor Freight, buy the tool warranty. I killed a brand new Sawzall in 3 hours once. It was also cutting up an RV. Yeah, I can see that. And they sell a lot of janky stuff over there. But I bet it wasn't a Sawzall. I bet it was a reciprocating saw knocking off the Sawzall. Danny Boyd says his fingers didn't get near the blade. The cord ended up behind the board I was cutting. It didn't end up there. You put it there. It didn't mean to. But I'll tell you, those things scare me to use for some reason. Got no fear. I'll just go at it with a Sawzall. But man, circular saws scare me for some reason. They frighten me a bit to use. I'm always really careful when I run them. That snap-on impact was $550 new in the 90s and wore it out. Well, I'll tell you, if we get parts for it, Vin can be able to do a great job for it. It's right up his alley. You just have to ship it here. They won't pick up in Illinois. They pick up as far out as about Roanoke and Bristol in that area. So, but I can help facilitate that. Glad to do it for these guys. Grand Pito Vic says some electrical tape and a couple wire nuts will fix a cord quick. Yeah, if you're doing a jungle style repair in the middle of a job, then I prefer to solder everything. Now Buck knows what you look like. That can't be for me. I get Buck for lunch every year when he comes down for No Name Nationals. Unfinished Project says he wore welding goggles, still can't pick me out of a lineup. Lars puts up the link, says on the way to Ninja. Colleen says if they're going to reboot something, she wants to see a new Coke bottle fuselage charger. And I have no faith that they would do that and do any kind of good job. I have no faith that it wouldn't just be stupid. So, that's the only reason I just don't even care. If they would, again, the old technology would be cool. If they did something, I got to tell you, one of the reboots, the reimagining type cars that brought back that I really liked, I thought they did a great job with the Challenger. I thought they did a really good job with that. That thing really did embody the old E-body. Most of them don't. I thought the T-Bird that Ford did was hot rotten garbage. It looked terrible. It was all about just V6 economy and aerodynamics. It didn't look like the old one, nothing. That was junk. That was probably one of the worst reboots. But the E-body I thought was great. Hey, Buff sent us a super chat for $5. Headed to the shop to be live if you're live. Hey, thanks, Buff. I appreciate it. And for whatever it's worth, anything I get in super chat, I don't solicit them as you know, but anything I get goes in the No Name Nationals General Fund. That's where all my YouTube money goes. I don't make much, but whatever I do goes into that. LSS Drone says black tape was a great fix for the check engine lights. Yes, I totally agree. Do you know the check engine light has been on the CRV for 9 years? And do you know what I plan on fixing it? The same time he plans on getting on camera. Catherine, here's a good question. This is for you. Which shopping store do you miss the most, Kmart or Blockbuster?
We didn't have a Blockbuster here.
Yeah, they didn't have Blockbuster Bluefield. We had Kmart.
The old Kmart was great.
Oh, yeah, the old Kmart on Cumberland Road was great. Yeah, I loved it. Then we had a sorry imitation of Kmart out here at the end of the road, whatever like that.
And the old Kmart had a restaurant too.
Yeah, have a restaurant right when you walk in the door on the left. Yeah. A friend of mine's dad was the manager there.
Really?
Richard Cherry? Yeah. His friend, his little boy Clarence, he and I would play. He lived right next to Bluefield College. Clarence, if by 1,000,000 to 1 chance you're watching this, I hope you're doing well. He lives in Ohio now. That's where they're from. Agreed about the Charger. The Charger's okay. It's okay. It was okay. But it's a different kind of car. When I see it, I don't think anything about the old Chargers whatsoever. But they're okay. It's the E-body. It's the Challenger that they really said, hey, that's a Dodge Challenger. LSS Drone says the old blue light special. Yep. Of course, see, now when you say that, you think about these crackheads that are walking up and down the alley. So this avenue right here, it's not as much as it used to be. Back when Obama crashed the economy, like 2009, 10, 11, whatever, this thing was a buzz with crackheads and prostitutes and scrap bandits and just everywhere. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And they cracked down on it a bunch and all that. So it's not as rowdy as it used to be. But this used to just be like Amsterdam out here or something. And we've seen more stuff out these windows. I'm telling you what, if we had it now like it was then, I would have cameras upstairs in this building captured the action, and I would have a channel for that. Because it's wild. There's a dude who was walking. I mean, just we've seen 100 stories out here, right? I mean, we literally have 100 stories of stuff we can see just walking in front of this shop. There's a guy that would hold up this replica professional wrestling belt in the middle of the street. We call him the Champ. I have no idea what his real name is. But he would get in fights with people out in here. He would get in fist fights with crackheads right out here in the street, and he would win. I wouldn't take on the Champ.
Okay, remember the dude that was in Halloween costume out here knocked on your window?
Yeah, there were people out here in Halloween costumes. We've seen people get arrested, for soliciting prostitutes out here. I got some people arrested for drugs one time. They got wrecked in the intersection, threw their drugs out in the flower pots or planters out here. The cops walked up and I said, hey, if you look here, you can find some stuff they threw there. They handcuffed them, took them up. And it's endlessly entertaining out here when it was like, it still is a little bit, but nothing like what it used to be.
Yeah, I was up here one night at 3 in the morning. The state trooper brought a person over here to the police house. He got away from the state trooper, ran down across the street, and the state trooper chased after him.
Now, this has always been lively. Right across the street over here used to be the old firehouse where my dad was a city fireman back in the 60s. And they had to brick up the windows on one side because of the gunshots. And he was sitting in the Top Hat Club, a little bar that was across from the firehouse. He said one day, this guy walks in the door, sees somebody on a bar stool, shoots him. The guy just falls off the bar stool dead, and the guy who shot him said, oh, I shot the wrong man, and he left. That was, I guess, in the late 60s, maybe. Right over here. This is not in a good neighborhood. So, to Dallas said if you could see a reboot, he wants to see a new 64 Falcon Ranchero. But no EFI, manual transmission, steering and brakes, crank windows. But no EFI. That's going to be the hard sell right there. Yeah, Cutter Down Garage says Kmart. I agree. Blockbuster's okay, but Kmart is much cooler. Aunt D says, I would love an old Sears. I think the very last Sears just closed down in Florida, didn't it? New York. There were a couple stores left. I think they're all closed now. Sears and Kmart. Shout out Clarence and Kmart. Indeed. Cool fella. I miss him. I haven't seen him forever. Dizzy says, I had a cop take a small bag of pot out of my pocket. He said, thanks. Now get lost. Unfinished project wants to know if it was mostly stems. Izzy said, nope, had the connection. Oh, my. Dougster says, Kmart was born in Detroit. Danny Boyd says, Sears Auto Center. We had a Sears Auto Center here. We had a Sears Auto Center, and we had a Kmart Auto Center, too.
Yeah.
Billy used to manage the Sears Auto Center, didn't he?
He was the assistant.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep, I remember that. Danny Boyd says Kresge. Yeah, my dad remembers when it was SS Kresge. He remembers when it was downtown here. So if you go, one block east of here is the middle of downtown Bluefield, and they had all these tall buildings like Woolworth and Montgomery Ward and all that stuff. And if you go over to the Angie channel, you can see where they're tearing all that down. She might have some video when some of them were still up. We had the Matt's Hotel, the Colonial Theater, all that stuff. And I don't know how many old videos you can have, but the built up downtown where the railroad offices and all that were in Bluefield, West Virginia, if you look at the turn of the century photos and all, it's about one block from here. So all the old photos of 4th of July parades and all that stuff was all right down here. We could walk there, but we'd probably get capped on the way.
100 years ago, this was prime location.
Oh yeah, 100 years ago, this was high dollar real estate right here. What was here $100 years ago with this spot?
I think the bus station used to be.
Bus station was here? Yeah, I think you're right. The train station was right over there on the other side of the road. Bluefield Supply Company was right over here. Yeah. This used to be a bustling place, and now it's just kind of abandoned. LSS drove Mrs. Happy's Flea Market in Roanoke. I like the outdoor part. The indoor part I never cared really too much about. Captain Do misses the high quality tools and clothes from Kmart. Yeah, I agree with that. They had Craftsman tools today. Yes, they did. Danny Boyd says Woolworths and Montgomery Ward had lunch counters for good food. Yes, they did. Yep, they sure did. Didn't your dad work for Montgomery Ward, the tire department?
Yeah.
Yep, sure did. Sure did. Dizzy said there was a small airfield in Middle Kentucky that flew in all kinds of stuff. My Uncle Mutt was working there for the county mom. Matthew said, my dad bought our first window unit AC from Sears. What a great day that was. Oh, I bet. Hey, I ever tell you about the first day I had air conditioning? Well, whenever I do, I'll tell you about it. He won't come see me because I don't have air conditioning. Here's something Mohawk sent me. 2025 Charger. It's a goofy looking modern deal. And Billy sent me something too, but I won't put it on camera. Mopars Mustangs minivan says, what's your dream car? His is a 68 Chrysler New Yorker. The body lines are gorgeous. You know what? I can get on board with that. Yeah, I like that. I like that. I gotta say, if I was gonna pick one car that's just like the ultimate car, it would be a 69.5 Dodge Super B A12, 446 barrel. Yes, sir. Yep. I think that's just really, really hard to beat. Colleen said, I worked for Sears in the early 2000s and got a rebuilt ratchet for the warranty program. Yep, you can do that today. Dougster said, my local Kmart had a cafe. Yes, ours did too. Ours had a restaurant right at the front. When you went the front door, it's right there. Yeah, I liked it. I remember eating French toast there one time. I think it was the last thing I ever ate there. Wasn't bad at all. LSS Drone said, you need to get one of those new Cybertrucks. I would take 3 seconds to think about it, but I'd be wasting all 3.
I'd rather have the money.
Yeah. And the thing is we don't get to know how good the rest of the truck is. Like, how good is the steering and brakes and suspension, and how do they work? What about all that stuff? All we hear about is the electric stuff. Crystal Gilmore says he never stops talking about that car. Knowing Mohawk like I do, he'd want the electric motor out and put a gas-powered engine in. Well, it would get interesting, much more interesting quicker if you did that. I would agree with that. 38 is asking Damien of Mopar's Mustangs Minivans, have your tastes in cars changed over the years? Good question for a young guy like him. We'll see what he comes up with. Unfinished Project said that they had a roses department store with a buffet. Wow. Oh, roses with a buffet. Wow. I wouldn't eat anything that comes out of our roses up here. Hey, so the roses here is in the old hills. Old Montgomery. They don't still have like that little snack bar and popcorn. I was gonna say, I knew that would have gone away. We don't have anything cool like that anymore. Did the Hills have that that's out there on whatever that is out there in Green Valley? Did it have a? I think it did too.
That's a Billy question.
That's a Billy. Yeah, Billy would know. Billy would know what they flavored the popcorn with and everything. Billy, if you're watching, you should tell us. Sometimes he watches this and lurks. Izzy says, Western Auto Revelation 3030 bolt action. Dad bought new in 67 still have it. That's cool. Yeah, I like old lever guns. No, it's a bolt. Here's the bolt gun. Yeah, but 3030 is usually a lever caliber. Speaking of guns, I'm going to do another firearm training live because people seem to really enjoy that when I did it. So I don't know when I'll do it. I'll do it soon. But what I'm going to give away on that is one of these. It's the Soviet-style shovel. And these are pretty cool. And if you know, you know, right? So I'm going to give one away. This one is a cold steel reproduction. But because it's not an original, you can get them out and use them and not have to worry about ruining it. That is a great thing to keep in your vehicle. They are handy. They are handy for digging, working, all kinds of stuff. You can really ruin somebody's day with one if you need to. Old McDonald said those Cybertrucks give the rockets a run for the money when it comes to altitude records. Okay. Vintage Adventurer Drives is here. Howdy. He says he just got in from work. How's everyone doing tonight? We're glad you're here. Glad you can make it. Evans Mopar Scott's dream car since he was 15, a burnt orange 70 Dodge Challenger TA 344 speed. That sounds like an excellent choice. I can see that. What wheels? Please tell me rallies. That sounds just perfect for that. Yeah, we just had a bunch of druggies go floating by. This place is interesting. What can I tell you? They don't mess with anything out here ever anymore, do they?
No.
Is that what they call a trenching tool? Well, this is the Soviet version. The American version would have a would fold, and they were just shovels. This is a lot handier. These things are stout. They're robust. And this one is a reproduction made by Cold Steel. Has a sharpened edge on it. This is my personal one right here. I have a few of them, but the reproductions that you would see before were not nearly as strong. They were kind of a cheap knockoff of the Soviet ones. The Cold Steel one is a really good reproduction, and it's inexpensive, and you can get out and work with these things. These are great. This is a really handy keeping the car type piece right here. I very much prefer them to the American version. Vintage Adventure Drive says, I managed to get my dream car. I wanted a 71 GTX, but settled for the Satellite Sebring. Great car. Dizzy says a blue white top 70 CUDA 426 Hemi convertible dream car. Sounds great to me. One-Eyed Cat says my dream car turned into a pair of road toads. Slant 6 has been neglected, almost like playing favorites. It's got its day. You keep it up and keep it driven. Evans Mopar Scott says 15-inch rallies on the rear, 14s up front. The rallies are all my all-time favorites. I love them. Mine too. I collected wheels when I was a kid. And I have a lot of rallies. I think they're really cool. Mohawk, I have a feeling that this question is going to take some time off my wife. Mohawk says the guys here in Huntsville, Alabama are having a wrap-off here on their cyber trucks. I've seen some strange colors on them, and the 24-karat gold wrap is crazy. Should be illegal, blinding in the sun. Man, I'll take stuff I would never want to do for $600, Alex. We have an HVAC company in Christiansburg, and they got a cyber truck that's all wrapped like that. Vintage Adventurer Drive says, I'm about to work on a buddy's 73 CUDA. I would love to have the car myself, but the last thing I need is another Mopar. Yeah, it's a tough call. There's videos about wrapping them. When it's removed, the finish is ruined. But from what I'm hearing, the Cybertrucks are having a problem with the finish as it is. I hear they're rusting. Dean Stevenson said the new Corvette is the ultimate class act. Yeah, but now it's not Corvette anymore. Now it's something else. It's become kind of like European or something. It's just become something different. The One-Eyed Cat, this is One-Eyed Cat says, my dream car is one that will run. That's aiming high right there. Yeah, Mohawk says nothing some steel wool won't fix. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe. I get weird about trying to keep the grain right on that. LSS Drones enjoyed being here and hanging out. Yeah, man, thanks for coming by. I appreciate you. Danny Boyd says Corvettes have chrome bumpers. Yes, I agree with that. What was the last chrome bumper on a Corvette? Was it 70? 71 or 2, somewhere in there? Something like that. Y'all know. What was the last chrome bumper on a Corvette? Captain Dew's dream car as a non-Mopar is a 67.8 Mercury Cougar. 302 of all things. Dougster said low-grade stainless will do that. They cheap out on material. Quality DeLorean. It's a quality DeLoreans don't have that problem. Yeah, it's true. Hey, there goes Cat again. Junkyard D's is 73. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Danny Boyd's in 72 had front and rear chrome. 73 had rear chrome. 74 had no chrome. So there you go. It's a sliding scale. 73 had rear chrome. Okay. Which that just sounds weird. But I can see it. Sixth Street Garage says, I saw a funny car at the Kmart Auto Center when I was a kid, but I don't know who it was. The last funny car I ever saw on display was at this lewd place in Dublin. It was a John Force funny car. They had it running on gasoline and had a different kind of clutch in it, so they could start it up and move it around. But it was pretty cool. Izzy says when the DeLorean came out, dealer close to here painted one candy orange with no base. Looked killer in the sun. I could see that. Okay, lower that down in front of the camera. This is, go spin it around and lower it down. This is Ben's older brother, Billy. Here we go. There you go. So that probably took a few years off the end of your life. You're welcome. See what happens? I get the weird hour like 4 minutes before time. Vintage Adventure Drive says, I really want to build an altered wheelbase car out of a burned 69 Falcon my dad drove up. I'm thinking a Mopar small block and 4-speed. That sounds really freaking cool. I really want to see that. Colleen liked it. He's got this weird obsession with the face-altering app stuff. He's only going to be 50 in a few weeks. I mean, Dougster's saying the local Lincoln dealer was also the DeLorean dealer, and the dealer's wife's personal DeLorean was anodized rosy red. It was cool. Oh, I bet. That sounds really cool. Neat stuff. Dean says that Pontiac had a Trans Am do 305 miles an hour with a Chevy small block on salt. Wow, I hadn't heard that. That's pretty wild. I guess that took a lot of room to get up to that kind of speed. BNR says we have modern aftermarket sequential transmissions like the C8 seen at PRI in 2024. Yeah, those are, to me, they're not part of the driving experience, whatever. NASCAR and ARCA. There's nothing left of NASCAR and ARCA for me. When they did that last remaining DNA purge to get rid of the T10 and the 9-inch and all that, I'm out. The 5 lug wheels, all that went away. All that was just kind of reminded you that it had roots in being a real car. DNR asks if that was Gale Banks in 1982, the most aerodynamic Trans Am. That would not at all surprise me if it was him. Lars puts up a reminder to register or buy tickets for the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals. You can go right there to nonamenationals.com. That's a direct link. And you can get your spectator passes or you can register for the event. Registering early helps us. It helps us pay bills early. It helps us set budget things for this year. So if you can do that, that'd be appreciated. Don't forget when you do that you get registered for Edelbrock incentives. You get 10 to 15% off everything in the Edelbrock catalog at edelbrock.com. We have our own personal concierge there, Alex So. So when you register, that's a great perk, and you save money doing that. So keep that in mind. But anyway, yeah, and as we buy as a group, we have the opportunity to move to even better price breaks. So this is a really great thing. We've got an opportunity with Edelbrock. So big thanks, Professor P, for helping put that together. But with that, we're at our time. Thanks for coming out tonight. I know Buff and Kim are live sometime tonight right after this. So I'm going to shut down here. Thank you all for coming out. If you want to talk about any air tool repairs, send me a note. I can get you in touch with Ben here at Larry's Pneumatic Service. And with that, you guys have a great weekend. And